Hi, this is Lisa with Quilting Block of the Month Facebook group, and this is our third block for April 2020, and it's called Clay's Choice. It's got a little bit of history to it, and you can also find it back known as Harry's Star or even Clay's Star. Originally, Clay's Choice was made in a soft brown tone prints in the pre-war days, but my quilt's all in bright colors, and so I'm doing it in these colors, and I'm going to do it in a little different color scheme for our the second block I'm making. So your four corners, and then you got four pieces right next to them. Those all need to be 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch squares, and then we're going to be making these half square triangles that finish at 3.5 inch before they are attached. And I'm going to do it in two different ways. We are going to do half of them. We'll use 5.5 by 5.5 inch square, and we're going to stitch around it. Then we're going to cut it diagonally. The other set, which are going to be my middle set of the star, these pieces in here, I'm going to use two pieces here that are 8.5 inches by 4. And basically I'm using this, what's called triangles on a roll, which you can get on, the link will be in the description. They make so much easier for making the half square triangles, and you can make in rows of 4, 8, 12, 16. You can do a whole section of them if you have a whole bunch to do. You don't have to do any trimming. You'll just stitch, cut, and they're done. And so we'll show you that. So you can show you both methods of doing that. And then here are all my 3.5 inch squares for the corners, for the outside edges. Okay, the first set of 3.5 inch squares, triangles we're going to make are going to be these that are here. Now my white on this is my yellow, and I've got purple is going to be where my yellow was. So I'm switching the colors up a little bit. But basically what we're going to do is we are going to go and we are going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way around the two squares, making sure that your right sides are together. Okay, as you can see, I've sewn 1/4 inch all the way around. Now what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get a ruler and your rotary cutter. And so you are going to line up where the stitches cross here and make a point, and then along with right over here on this side. Then you're just going to cut straight across diagonally. Carefully lift up your ruler so you don't move your fabric, and do it on the other side, matching up this corner where the stitching is and that. Oops, make sure you don't move it like I just did. Match it there. There. Might not be exactly to the corner of the fabric, but do it where the stitching comes across. And you cut. You got 4 pieces here. Now, you got a couple options. You're going to want to square these up to make sure that they're the right size. You can use any ruler that you've got that you want to press them open. And then like on this one, you could line it up, trim, turn it around, do the same thing and trim. My favorite tool that I got, and after I got it, it's what I use all the time, and it's called Quilting in a Day ruler here, and it's got all of these. So you basically are going to square them up. So we want this to finish at 3.5 by 3.5. So we're taking this 3.5 inch dotted line here, and we're lining it up with my stitching at the bottom. Just line it up. Look there. And then you just go along and you trim. Then I'm going to press it open like this, and I have my 3.5 inch square triangle. And so once you do that, and then I will just, after I've pressed it, trimmed off the dog ears. So again, take your piece, line up the line that you're wanting. So this one's 3.5 inches, what we want it to finish at. Line it up. Make sure that you've got fabric on both sides. These were pretty close to what I needed. Trim them. Oops. Missed a little there. And then you'll press it open, and then cut off your dog ears. Okay, again is I've got them pressed open. Make sure you do our cutting off those dog ears with your rotary cutter or a pair of scissors. So now you've finished 4 of the half square triangles. And so now I'm going to show you a different method on doing that than the other one. Okay, and to show you a separate method, now if you wanted to just use the method we just used with the square cut stitching around a 1/4 inch and cutting for all the half square triangles, that is fine. You can go ahead and do that. I just wanted to show you a couple different methods on how to do them. And so again, this is the triangles on a roll, and it literally comes on a roll. And you could, if you wanted to do, 12, then you could just cut there and stitch them here. We're just going to be doing, all we need for now is 4 of this set. So I've got my 2 pieces of fabric here of the 2 colors of 8 inch by 4 inch. They don't have to be exact like normally on your squares, but just lay your 2 pieces right side together. And then you're going to take the piece of paper in whatever size that you need and put it on here. Now, making sure that your fabric comes outside the edges and that you can see them. Then just take a pin and pin them down. Now, if you're real careful, you could do it without the pinning. I just like the pinning to make it easier that I know it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our machine, and we are going to follow the directions of the arrows, and we are going to stitch on the dotted line, up, down, turn around, come back this way, and back this way. Okay, we're at my machine, and one thing that we do need to do when you're stitching on paper is going ahead and reducing your stitch. So I'm going to reduce this down to 1. Makes your stitches tinier, so just kind of perforates the paper a little bit easier for you to stitch. So then we're just going to go, and I just start a little bit outside of the paper, and I'm just going to stitch right along this dotted line, again going in the directions of the arrows, holding my paper and fabric flat. And then just stitching down all the way to the end here, and then cutting it, and then we're going to switch over here again following this arrow here, holding everything flat and just stitching right down the line. Just stitch kind of off, cut, and then we'll go down following this line here, getting the other side. And then we're going to follow this last little line here. Just making sure we're going back here. Stitch all the way down. And then as you can see, I've stitched it. And so you can see where I'm going to go. Okay, now that we've got the stitching done, go ahead and remove your pins. Get your rotary cutter out and a ruler. And we're just simply going to go. We're going to cut off this little straight edge here. Again, it's a solid lines. We're just going to go line up your ruler. Cut it. Rotate it. You're going to cut along here along the edge. Line it up. Cut. Again, rotate. Cut. And then this last little piece here. We've got it. Now we've got to cut diagonally between these, through the middle, and here. So I go ahead and do through the middle here. So I'm cutting it into 2 pieces. Cut it. And now I'm going to do diagonally between the 2 pieces, the stitching lines here. And then between the stitching lines on this one as well. And now I've got 4 here. And they are half square, 3.5 inch squares. So now I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to press open all my seams And just like on the other ones, I'm going to trim off my little dog ears. Okay, after you've pressed them open, one of the things you need to do is go ahead and clip off the little dog ears so that it's square. Turn it over and carefully remove the paper. And I usually will just kind of fold it back a little bit and then just gently holding on, just rip it down. Then turn it around, get the other piece, and it should pull away. If you got any little pieces left, just carefully remove them so your stitches don't come undone. If they do a little bit, just go back to your sewing machine and just stitch them back. And then do that with all 4 of your pieces. So you now have 4 half square triangles for the second part of it. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces. We've got our initial squares that we cut at 3.5 inch. We've got our 2 sets of 3.5 inch half square triangles, the 2 different methods, using whichever method you prefer. So now we're going to lay out our block. Smooth it all around. The teal was my 4 corners of the block. The yellow is kind of what I call my background. So we're just going to lay it here. Oops. And here. And now we're going to use our half square triangles. So we're going to go, oops. There. So we're going to use this one here. So basically it's kind of pointing downward or towards your teal colors here. And then we're going to be using the others. And you're going to put the purple to the purple. Oops. And then these pieces are just going to kind of rotate. So if you can't remember which way, put one there, rotate it once. Put one there, rotate it once. So now you should have these kind of angles out like this, shooting out. If you don't, you may have this piece in there backwards or sideways, or just lay them all out. So now you've got the initial layout of your block. So basically what we need to do, again, is chain piece these. You can check out my chain piece blog on how I do it. Basically what I'm going to do is we're just going to sew these into four rows. I'll sew these all together, and these, and then I'll attach them in the middle. Okay, I sewed the first 2 rows together, chain piece them together so they're all still connected, open them up. I did that with the last 2 rows, open them up, and then I kind of look at it. Does everything still look correctly? My purples are going the right way. Everything else looks good. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these over, and I'm going to attach the middle rows together right here. Okay, after I've sewn the middle down together, now's the time you need to stop and go press. Making sure... Okay, when I was recording this, I missed a couple steps. Basically, what I need you to do is when you've got your individual rows, is you need to make sure that the seams will nest together so that then you can sew these rows together. Clip them and then sew them. So you'll sew the first 2 rows together, the bottom 2 rows together, then open it up and sew the middle row together. Okay, now that you got your seams done, double check it one more time that everything is where it needs to be. If you did my chain piecing method, all your pieces should still stay together since they're all hooked together between the steps. Now you need to just press yours open. Now you can press them whichever way you want. I did the top and bottom rows upward, kind of outward, because there's less bulk on the outside rows here than in the middle. And then I went ahead on this one and I pressed the seam open in the middle. On my other block, I just pushed it one direction. Here, you can see it just gets a little bit bulky in the middle. But when you get it all quilted, it's not going to make much of a difference. And so here is Clay's Choice, our April 2nd, 3rd block of the month. Make sure that you post your completed blocks on our Facebook group so we can all enjoy the different color combinations of the blocks.